Okay, Matthew, here we go. Beginning of the beginning, and let's get it going. LM Special, Seiko. These, this beautiful era of case. These beautiful slab sides. Seiko brought these things back a few times. You see this kind of case design with this swoop on some of the Seiko Ananta chronographs. Have it. This is something that they came back with more than a few times. Okay, well, let's get it going. It's always fun looking at these, opening them up when they're original like this, untouched. You can see that the case back seal is just rock hard, not moving at all. But look at the beautiful bright movement. Nice red text. Sorry about the dog barking in the background. He's decided he's a guard dog, not just a puppy. Okay, well, let's get into it. Such great movement, so tightly built with this Swiss-style reverser type automatic winding. But it's looking good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can see on the stem here that the seal is also just absolutely flattened. Nice, though, that Seiko did this because the Swiss-style crowns are internally built with the seal, and you're stuck. If they're bad, you have to pull them apart. Nice thing about these, not only do they have, sorry, that's Rocket. He's trying to play with his best friend, who's the cat, and the cat doesn't like playing with him, and so he gets all excited. Honk, honk, honk. Anyway, lots of diafix settings, which is always cool to see. And also, if you look, oh shoot, I can't show you because I already took the balance off. It's got some crazy fine adjusts as well. So far, so good. I'm going to pull out the movement now and strip off the hands and dial. Look at the perfection of the dial and hands. Perfect. Perfect. Linen dial. Seiko's just excelled at these. Non-loomed, chrome with a black stripe. They just did a beautiful job. Beautiful, beautiful job. Perfect, perfect dial. Perfect hands. Such a clean and elegant design. One of the things I always like to see, when I pull the hands, I want everything to go to midnight, but I always like to see, because this watch is unrestored, it's never been touched. And so I like to see if how close the Seiko tech who built the thing, or the machine who built it, whoever built the darn thing, got to getting the hands to click over at just exactly at midnight. I always like to see how fast look at that. See, they got it to about what, there? That's pretty good. And now we're back over to this side. I have the hands off, dial is still on, because Dynie uses this. They really liked using this setup of having the eccentric keepers, the eccentric, I don't know what you want to call them, the fixture diddly things that the friction fit on the dial feet here, versus what Sua liked to do, which was having a whole separate screw that came in the side. This is actually a neater one-stop shopping kind of solution. The only issue with this is that if your dial feet ever get seriously damaged or too squished, these will stop holding. And that's not a problem you have with the Sua system. But anyway, let's get it done. Okay, so this is the way these work. Is that the barrel and train bridge are all the same. They're all self-contained. There is a little teeny tiny sort of cap bridge there you see on the right with the jewel, and that sits right here. So when you pull these apart, the reason that there's such a slim movement is they don't have separate plates for all these different things. You're crunching a whole bunch of different floors into one. So you can actually see the train. You can see it's got the pinion here. This spring here is to make it is to provide force and also drag to make it so that the second hand as it sweeps around stops cleanly. That's the way it's supposed to be. These are the winding assemblies here, and you can see the train with the pallet fork and the escape wheel and all that happy stuff. And there's no really like a standard fourth wheel. They don't have that. It's a sideways drive kind of thing. But you can see how it goes. Pretty neat. So here's the other side. It's interesting. These models are pretty unusual in that the screw that goes into the mainspring arbor is not on the train side, it's on the calendar side. And you can see that it's got these three stripes in here, a big middle slot and then 2 little ones, that means it actually unscrews the opposite direction, backwards. I've already removed the day wheel, so you can see the rest of this stuff. This is pretty straightforward. Nothing super crazy over here. Pretty straightforward setup. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, in the process of stripping this down, one of the things about these, though, that you have to be super duper careful with are the teeny tiny springs. You can't see it very well. See that? There's a little U-shaped, like thick as a hair spring right here, and it's really easy for that thing to go ta-boink, and then it's gone. That's a real fun situation when that happens. Very clean setup, very tight. Another nice thing to see, of course, is this has the same general tech for the day-date quick set as the SUA versions of these, the 5.6s. And so, hang on just one second. And so, but instead of this gear right here being plastic, as in the SUAs, when they fail all the time, these are metal. They're metal from the get-go. And that's really good. You see another one of the die-fix settings there. I still have to strip off a lot of this stuff. So let me get to that. Well, it has been a very long day. It is 7 p.m. And I missed dinner. Oh well. But the watch is together and it is running. Remember that teeny tiny spring that was right under here? And I'm like, gotta be careful with that spring because it'll go boink and it'll go away. Well, it went boink and it went away. So I had to actually dig through all my stuff and find another one, but not before I went through. I spent a long time looking for that part, but I didn't find it. But I have spare, so there we are. You just got to be careful. Got to be careful with those parts. If you look in that little hole there, you can see the pallet fork going back and forth. Those 2 little holes. Ticka, 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 ticka. There's the escape wheel. So I'm going to let this run in overnight, and then I will revisit tomorrow morning, and we are going to see how we are doing, but that's about it. I really want to pull the plug. Okay, tomorrow morning, here we come. Okay, I did some adjustments last night, and it had a lot of beat error and was gaining a ton of time, so I'm looking at it now. This is the clock. 13 hours. So it's got some beat error, which I need to pull out of it, but that's not bad. It just clicked over the day, which is interesting. So, because I didn't, of course, set it for the time, because I'm just letting it run in, but not bad so far. That looks pretty decent. I got to clean up that signal some. I'm not sure if that's an error. The machine might be having trouble hearing. There might be some additional noise. I really need to upgrade this thing. Okay, so now it's time for the next fun thing, which is getting this case apart. The way these cases work, Seiko had a whole bunch of different ways to do stuff. This one is it's a really funky setup whereby the crystal actually comes in from the inside. It's held in sort of a sandwich. You've got the outer bezel and this inner chapter ring, and they together sandwich the crystal in together, and then the whole bezel is pressed into the case, held in place with a plastic ring. And there's, in this gap right here, that is where the crystal sits. So I've got to, your crystal was cracked, and so I was able to extract that. But now I have to figure out how to get this out. There's the approved Seiko method for doing this. I'm going to have to make a tool, because otherwise, I mean, I just need to be careful. It's a weird setup. Seiko used this in a few places, and this is the early 70s, but they used them all the way into the 80s with some 7546 sport divers. But anyway, it's always real interesting trying to deal with this, because Seiko used so many different systems. I don't know why they didn't just equip this with a cutout for a case knife. That's what they do in so many other instances. There'd be a cutout right there, and I'd be able to just get a case knife in there and spring it out. But nope, I've got to I've got to machine out a tool to put this into my press so I can press the whole thing out from the inside, catching on this minuscule edge of the chapter ring, which you can see there, just that inner black line right there. That's the underside of the chapter ring, and I have to get in there and have a tool that fits in there perfectly and push that out. Okay, so got to make a tool. This is how we do it. Anyway, so I dug through all my stuff because I have a ton of old watch parts from the States and things like that. So I found an Orphan Bergeon crystal press die, and it wouldn't drop in here because the crown tube comes into the inside of the case. So I had to, oh, wait a second, is that the wrong? I grabbed the wrong one. So as the song goes, this is how we do it. I have it apart. I went through all my stuff. I have a ton of material from watchmakers' estates and things, and so I found an Orphan Bergeon crystal press die, which I didn't need, old thing, and so I had to crudely work down the outer diameter here, as well as put in a channel to make room for the crown tube there. And that snugs in directly underneath the crystal ring, which is in here, and then out it comes. This is the plastic seal that these have. This is the same setup as the 6138 jumbos. They also use this, but they do not use this weird crystal sandwich thingy. So that is a part. Cool. So I've been adjusting and playing and putting things together. I have this crystal setup done, the new crystals in place. Here's your old crystal gasket. These crystal setups have a pretty weird gasket. It's not an O-ring and it's not a flat. It's a rectangular cross section that's sort of tall, but it's a very nice flexible Viton rubber. And these seals are, they're hard to find. I had one, exactly one, and you got it. I would keep that one. Keep all this stuff I'm going to send back to you. Don't get rid of any of these things. Anyway, not that you would, but so there it is. You can see the chapter ring in place, and that's holding up the new crystal, and that's all together. Okay, we're basically done. I'm just gonna clean up, drop that crystal on, and basically I'm done. Okay, so there it is. Isn't it pretty? What a pretty watch. I have a couple LM specials, but they are not this case type. I wish they were. So this is the one thing, not one thing, one thing to know about these. If you want to quick set the date, it's gonna feel pretty stiff, and the reason for that is that when you're quick setting the date, you're also winding the watch, and when you're winding the watch, you're not just moving the ratchet wheel on top of the mainspring barrel, you're also pushing over the entire reversing wheel setup for the automatic winding. So it's going to feel pretty resistant to you, and that's normal. That's the way that it goes. So you sit there and you keep winding the watch, and eventually you get to where it is. But it's going to be stiff. That's the way that it is. Seiko's primary focus is always on automatic winding. Sorry, I'm trying to do this. and talk to you at the same time. Today is the 4th. Is automatic winding, so they're less concerned with this. Now, when you're setting the day rather, that's easy because you're not pushing that automatic winding stuff around. Today's Wednesday, Tuesday, there, and it is currently, gosh, it's almost 2. Yeah, almost 2. So let's. Well, I always like to get this thing hacking, but for fun, you can see that it hacks there. So I'll pretend set it now, but I like to set it to the 2nd. Anyway, there it is. Beautiful, beautiful watch. Amazing what a nice new crystal does too. And these crystals they're not easy to find, but I did get one for you. They're funky. They're very thin with a very light bevel and a frosted flat lower edge so that it interacts nicely with that flat crystal gasket. And that's it. Well, I thank you so much. Very nice watch. I look forward to getting it back to you. Thank you.